new regulations force you to go to a higher efficiency, which is good for everybody. I think data centers are going to have that same impact at the end of the day of pushing us further than even government regulation because they're trying to conserve energy so much.
Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industries. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm your host, Charli Matthews Carruth, and I have an amazing guest today. I'm really excited for you to meet him. We have done a story, so you may have already read some from him and his expertise, but I'm really, of course, excited to share industry expert with you and kind of just get to know him. So, Rick, let's start with that. Introduce yourself.
Ric Turmel, Senior Vice President for Engineered Building Solutions at TACO. And my primary focus these days is around custom engineered and designed and built skid packages.
So you have had an extensive career both in HVAC and engineering. What brought you to TACO?
It really was the culture. It was the family. You know, I was with a very large HVAC manufacturer for many years and had several friends that worked at TACO. And they finally convinced me to come and meet the family and meet Johnny. And it was really a conversation with Johnny that convinced me that this is where I wanted to be. And so that was, over 14 years ago now, almost 15. And it's been a great ride.
Yeah, there's so many people that when I ask that question, that's what they say about the TACO family. So I love that. But some exciting things happening in Lubbock, Texas, and that has been kind of a conversation for a lot of different places. But for your facility, tell us a little bit about how you got it started over there.
Well, we were getting a lot of requests from our customers. We make a lot of equipment that sits in the mechanic room. If we're not the chiller or the boiler, there's a pretty good chance that TACO makes it. And as skid packaging became more and more popular, I mean, it's not new by any means, but as it became more and more popular, we started having people ask us, hey, why don't you put all of your products in one place and pipe them all together? And we already had the facility in Lubbock, which was doing fabrication work for our vertical turbine products. And so we had some welding experience already started there. And we had some folks that worked there that had been in this business before. And so as we started talking to each other and looking around where the talent and the skill set sat, Lubbock became a very natural next step. Given the facility's location, the access to highly qualified welders, our proximity to the suppliers of a lot of the materials, it all just became very, very natural. And on top of that, we had the availability of space. And we had space in Lubbock. The building that we were in had more space available, and even more space has become available that we're going to acquire as well to give us the space we need. So, you put the talents along with the availability of all the materials we needed, and just made Lubbock fit perfectly. And I got to say, the town and the city have been very, very helpful in promoting us and helping us expand in their community.
Yeah, and we're talking about like 100,000 square foot and more, right? Am I getting that number right?
And more, yes. Yeah. I won't announce it today, but there's another acquisition of square footage that is imminent that will give us the space we need based on the demand we're seeing. So we will not lack for space to build and store skids.
Yeah, and so this really came to my attention after a show where y'all were showing the skid, and I got some behind the scenes footage and I got to see it there. But also the talk around data centers and how much y'all are doing with them. So can you tell me a little bit about, I guess, just the design itself and how you're working with them?
Yeah, what data centers need is speed, right? I mean, the construction schedules on most of the data centers is quite rapid. And they want to make sure that the equipment is not the reason the job is being slowed down. They can build a building pretty rapidly. And so they've gotten into a position where not only are they pre-ordering pumps and tanks and heat exchangers and other products, they're able to pre-purchase and pre-store them. And so they are ready when a building goes up. They know what the design is going to be, and they already have the chiller, the skid ready to go and just bolt up on site. And so speed has been the big driver from them. And so, for years we've been working with them on the pumping side, tank storage side, heat exchanger side, things like that. But they've always been in a more analog type environment where it's a pump here, it's a tank there, and somebody else is making those connections occur in the field. And more they've moved to the speed and the availability too. So if they can pre-purchase, give us good schedules out multiple years at a time, we can pre-plan, make sure our product's on time, put it in a skid package. So when the contractor gets it, it literally is just about piping between the two pieces of equipment. It really has solved and saved them a lot of time and expense on the job. And I think there's an industry piece to it too. We talk about all the time, there's not enough people coming to the trades. And so this also helps offset some of that skill set that's being lost in the field. I'm hoping, watch a lot of the news, and I'm hoping over time we see more people look at it as a very viable career versus going to college. Nothing wrong with going to college by any means. But there's a lot of really high-paying jobs that are on the other side of that, whether it's our welders who make very good money, or it's the pipe fitters in the field making very good careers out there. So I think that's the other piece to it, right? Just a skill set, not enough skill set for the pace of construction. This allows you to get by with less qualified people on a site.
Yeah, and I think that part of the buzz around data centers and just that this is happening, and it's it kind of brings attention to our industry, which sometimes we get lost in the things we take for granted, like food, water, energy, those kind of things that we just hope happen. But I think it will draw attention that this is a career choice and one that is needed. And that it's not going anywhere, right? So I'm excited about that too, and just the future workforce. But let's think about the future for a little bit. Like, what if we go 5 years down the road? What does it look like? How do we prepare?
Well, I think what we're going to have to get really, really good at is procurement. One of the things that is nice about the data centers is that a lot of them are duplicates of each other. They'll create a design and they'll repeat it over and over. That allows us, and they have a good schedule too of when these buildings need to be built based on our cell phone usage, right? It's all the technology we're using, and they know what they need and where they need it. So if they can give us better scheduling, that allows us to do a better job on the purchasing side. And I think there's benefits to that as well. And not just for the data center folks, us being able to buy better with better scheduling is going to help every industry, healthcare, schools, everything. So I think that's one thing that it does for us. We have much better planning capability coming out of the data centers based on their ability to forecast and schedule things pretty accurate.
Yeah, you made me think of something too. A lot of these centers are kind of off in other places, and they need to build the infrastructure around them. So that's just going to help
Yeah.
if they're working with them, kind of that duplication effect, and the fact that y'all's, not just with your facility being in Lubbock, for example, and the city working with you, that's across the board. Being able to communicate across organizations is going to be key too, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, one of the nice things about data centers, and maybe they don't have enough good marketing for people to know it, but they are really focused on the cutting edge of cooling design. They truly are. They are looking to extract every bit of efficiency that they can. And so while there's a lot of, I'll say, bad press or negative press out there on them, they are doing their very best to save energy, conserve water. It's definitely very, very high on their design list. And it's really interesting to work with them because they're trying things and pushing the limits of energy and efficiency wherever they can. If they're going to bring power generation to the site, they want to bring as little as they need, right? And they want all of that to be dedicated to the computers, the computing systems, not to the power for lighting and for cooling. And so they're constantly looking for new things. I think at the end of the day, it'll help us for the HVAC industry design new, more efficient products where maybe the cost benefit wasn't there, but for data centers, the cost benefit is there. And so I think it'll advance our entire industry for sure. And I think you watch a lot of the chiller design development that's coming out very recently. It's just pushing the edges of how far an air-cooled chiller can be from an efficiency standpoint. We're going to do the same with pumps. How much energy can we save? How much energy can we store? What can we do with waste heat is being looked at in a totally different way. And I think that will really advance our entire industry.
I love that. It's just that's where that innovation magic happens when there is a project and we're working together and great minds are talking and communicating. That always helps, right? Great designers too. I loved you telling me about the designing and who you're talking to out there that has designed one of these before. So much of that is just yeah, it's inspiring and it's something you want to be a part of. So I definitely think that the workforce will be on board with that.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, and efficiency changes come from government regulation, right? That's what's driven a lot of it, whether it's automobiles or other industries, light bulbs, you name it. Same for our industry. New regulations force you to go to a higher efficiency, which is good for everybody. I think data centers are going to have that same impact at the end of the day of pushing us further than even government regulation because they're trying to conserve energy so much. And you put all of those things together on a package that's designed to work together. You're no longer picking a piece from here and a piece from there. These are now coordinated systems that are designed to work with each other. It is that heat exchanger picked to go with that pump and that chiller for that exact design. It's hard to get much more efficient than that. And I think that is another avenue that they help us push our limits of putting together a package that works together.
Yeah, puts another way of thinking on the systems approach. We've been talking about that for 20 years, and this is definitely something you got to think about moving forward. Well, Rick, I could talk to you about this all day. I've got I'm smiling because it's so exciting. Well, I do want to know a little bit more. I do a little rapid fire with you. What is your favorite book?
Ooh, favorite book. I'm going to have to say Fight Club. So I read the book before the movie. And that author only wrote a couple of books, but the book, and he wrote another book too. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's escaping me right now. It happened to be about bodybuilding, but that's not part of the story. But that probably was my favorite book.
Awesome. What about music? What do you jam to?
Oh, it's got to be metal.
Okay.
I mean, from a long-term perspective, it's probably Metallica, groups like that. But I'm listening to a lot of different groups these days. So there's a lot of, the harder it is, probably the better I'm going to like it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
What about advice? I'm going to ask you, okay, what is the best advice that you've ever received?
Probably it is about taking care of the customer, and making the customer more than just the transactional relationship. If there's a way to have something in common with somebody or, somebody that you would enjoy spending time with outside of the work environment, that's the kind of thing that really I've always focused on. And to go with that, when you're working with a customer, one of the things I like to do is give them the best solution for the project, right? And even if it's not a solution that I represent or sell, and I've done that a lot of times. People come and say, "Hey, do you have this product?" I'm like, "No, I don't." But because I'm an industry, nut, I'll say, "You know what? Who makes the perfect thing for you is X, Y, or Z, and go get that product because that's what you need, not what I may happen to have that might fit." Probably that's my best advice.
Yeah, it'll circle back to you. Somebody will remember that you helped them and send people your way for sure. What about somebody coming into this world, this very high moving or quick paced data center world? What advice would you give them?
Do a lot of research, read a lot of articles, follow a lot of websites like your own, stay informed, stay up to speed, take a lot of the classes that are out there and available. I mean, there's a lot of really good sites in the data center space that really help you understand the industry. It's not just about whatever part of it you're in, right? Whether you're in the racks or you're in the HVAC like I am, but understanding even how real estate comes about for a data center. So get involved in the weeds, get all the way into understanding how the whole process works. And I think that that's the key to the data centers, keeping up with it. it's evolving faster than you can keep up. So read every article you can because it's obsolete right after you read it, but it got you a little bit of the ways along the way.
That's right. Just like as we're learning about AI and things like that, you got to try it out. You've got to test it. You got to do the best at understanding, right? That kind of early adopters. We're way
Yep.
past that, y'all. So if you, Rick, if I'll give you the last word. Is there anything else you want to leave our audience with, and just how to get connected with you two?
No, no, I really appreciate the time today. You having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And all the support you give for our industry. Thank you very much for that.
Oh, thanks, Rick. And y'all, share this episode. It really is, it is something that we thought was coming and it's here, right? Like it's so past time to be educating ourselves, as Rick was saying, on all these things. Continue to do so. Don't feel like you're too far behind to get involved. But
Never.
definitely share the episode. Connect me with awesome people, like I tell you every time. And until next time, be empowering.